Cool.
So if you want to lead off.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining. This is the Broadcasting and Journalism Workshop, the how-tos when interviewing celebrities. My name's Tyler Boronski with Connor, of course. I know you guys have been with him the last couple days, so you guys know him. And we'll do a couple introductions real quick. But again, just want to thank Laura for making this event happen. I think it's really a cool event. So,
Yeah, I'm right here.
yeah, we
All
can
right.
just, you start it off, man.
All right. So I'm a journalist for the LA Times for a little under a year now. I also work with Laura, a lot of her editorial production at Gen Z. I know you and me were just at Playlist. We've crossed paths. There's a lot of stuff there. And then in the past was event reporter at My Burbank.
Awesome. And I mean, I have a few different titles, but I think these are the ones that best apply for this talk. I run a YouTube channel where I interview different celebrities and social media influencers. I actually started my channel more focused on sport athletes, so working with a lot of MLB players and NBA guys. But really, the last like year and a half, I've transitioned to more entertainment and social media, learning that world. So a couple people I've interviewed and worked with like recently is in the social media world is like Charlie D'Amelio, Tana Mojo, my guy Lil Huddy, and Bryant, who's like a photographer. So I get to be involved with entertainment, but then I'm still involved with sports because I just signed a contract with a New England Sports TV network where essentially I'll just be doing the same exact things I do on YouTube, but for them with their athletes, like on the Boston Red Sox, Boston Celtics, Patriots, Bruins, all that. And I went to school for this. I went to the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, part of their inaugural graduating class, actually this past October, and got to work with a lot of like personalities like Dan Patrick, Bill Simmons, Sage Steele, a lot of people that have been in journalism and broadcasting for a while. So that's why I think me and Connor, hopefully give you guys some good advice today, and that's a little bit of our background, so you guys
And
kind of know
I
why
think
we're talking on this panel today.
I think it's also good to mention that you and me are commonly associated with the reporters that are interviewing these teams. I
Yeah,
know there's
yeah,
men
absolutely.
who do it, and I think it's starting to become known that we're like the only people who do it. I know you do it over there. We cross paths at Playlist. We did it, and other places. I know you were at the one before Playlist too, right?
Uh,
What was that?
yeah, the one with like Charlie's event, that was like a missile talk where it was Charlie Dixie and like a few other creators, Mark Anastasio, if you guys know him on TikTok.
Mhm.
So I go to a lot of events, so I just kind of bounce around and see what I don't know would be a fun interview and fun story for people to see.
All right, right. Here we go.
Cool. Well, I guess I'll start off this slide. So why it's important for people to in entertainment to understand broadcasting and journalism basics. I don't know everyone's aspirations in this talk, so there might be some people that actually want to be like reporters and interviewers, hosts, all that. My guess is a lot of you guys want to be actors or already into acting or are big on social media. So you guys are usually the talent, the one usually getting interviewed. So why would you want to care about the other side of understanding the media perspective? Um, well, first of all, if you are in entertainment, you never know what opportunities will come about, and you have to be versatile and multifaceted in this industry. Take advantage of what comes about, because you know, especially like you just don't know what opportunities can come about, and you don't want to like limit yourself and be closed minded on you know why I wouldn't. Oh, I'm not a journalist or a reporter, so I can't do any opportunity like that. Like, it's a good skill set. It's honestly a general skill set just for life, and we'll get into like the communication skill set of it later. But really, just entertainment is about taking advantage of the opportunities, and that's why I think it's important for anyone in this field to learn these basics.
So, I mean, another point that's, it's kind of more the perks for us, which are kind of cool things. What opportunities you get out of it. I recently was at the Grammys, and you have to be like either in a really a good news group or a like NBC or
Sure.
KTLA, whatever is in LA. Um, and so I recently got to do that. I mean, again, playlist. Of course, I got to go there. Um, a lot of events that you wouldn't like think of, like one of my favorite ones actually was this. It was called. I think it was called Cars and Jets or something, or like Cars and Coffee or something.
Hmm.
It's big in LA. Just met so many interesting people, and you meet so many interesting people along the way. I've met some people, in the past that are now like friends, and again, they're much older, but they're friends, good people that have nothing to do with uh, broadcasting. You meet a lot of friends during this. You meet a lot of people. I know you and Antonio, Mark Antonio, right? Or
Anastasio, yeah.
Anastasio, right? Yeah. Um, I know you and him worked together, and that was an opportunity you kind of got out of this.
So that's a funny you bring that up. So I do, kind of off note from this, I produced the YouTube videos for Mark Anastasio and a few other YouTubers. And I met
Mhm.
Mark when I actually went to go interview him as like a talent. Like I said, just one of my interview subjects. And then, we kind of stayed in contact. And he said, "Oh, I want to start a YouTube channel. We live near each other, so now really the last 5 months I've been helping him create YouTube videos, and that's a different opportunity that I would have not have had a chance if I didn't meet him when I went to go interview him at Missile Talk. So yeah, it's a really cool. You just meet a lot of people. That's one of my favorite things about this
Mhm.
field of work, whether it is the celebrity you're talking to or just behind the scenes people or just people in general. So that's really cool. Uh,
I'll let you take that one.
yeah. So I was gonna say for this second bullet point, especially like when I was saying like you guys are usually mostly known as the talent, like whether you're the actor or the social media personality. Lately, if you looked, I mean, there's been a lot of opportunities for hosting or reporting, or a lot of people are making podcasts now and voiceover. Like, think about how many celebrities now these days are becoming podcast hosts now. They
Yeah.
used to get interviewed, and now they want to become the one asking questions.
Well, for like example, doesn't Logan Paul does one now? It's called like Impulsive.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And we never thought it was going to do that.
it's
That came out of nowhere.
it's just so many people. I know Josh Peck does one, and Josh Peck, a kid actor, from Drake and Josh Forever, and now
Yeah.
he actually has a really good podcast, and he has pretty solid questions and curious questions, and it's a way for him to branch out in his brand, his personal brand, get
Mhm.
opportunities to probably interview people that and meet people he hasn't had a chance to and be associated with them now. So I think
Mhm.
that's a that's just a different way to look at it. To branch out from your personal brand, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for that now these days, especially like for Connor. Like, I think it's awesome that you got on with like a media outlet, like a legit media outlet, being as young
Mhm.
as you are with LA Times. I know
Mhm.
for me, uh, my YouTube channel is just something I grew on my
Mhm.
own. I don't even have a big following necessarily. It's just building those connections over the years. That's what's helped me get the media passes or credentials or whatever at
And
these.
here's another thing, and I know we'll probably touch on this later. It's not as hard as you think. You know what I mean?
Totally, totally.
Like I've been doing it by, I know you do it this too, by myself with this, $600-700 camera, and pressing record and just setting up I know you do this too, setting up the tripod. It's not hard, for anyone who wants to get into it.
I mean,
Um,
you could film something with your iPhone. iPhone cameras are
mhm,
great, so don't let gear stop you. And even more to that point, as far as reaching out to people, it's never been easier. You can Instagram DM anyone these days or send someone a tweet, and it's very possible to get a response back.
yeah, and
Maybe not
especially if
A-list
you're
people,
with
but
media, because these people, to get verified on Instagram, obviously you have to have a certain number of articles written about you or press on you. I believe that's one of Instagram's guidelines to get verified. Um, and I mean, it kind of adds to it, so they do like it sometimes.
yeah, obviously verification definitely helps, and being in the journalism field, it can help you get that verification if you're really seeking after that. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, this never been, like you said, easier or just more accessible to interview people and to film podcasts and to film videos in general. So I
Mhm.
think that's a good point. And
All right, I'm gonna move on here.
yeah,
All right.
Do you want me to
How
kick
do
off
you?
this, or you got this?
I'll get this one, and then you
Cool.
do the next one. How to technically execute a good interview. All right, so open-ended questions that can predict what an interviewee is going. Interviewee is going to say. So not a yes or no response. I know we'll also talk about this, and I think it's the next slide. Um, but I think I actually didn't write this one, so I think what you're trying to say is like open-ended questions, as in like. Uh, Actually, honestly, I don't know what you're trying to
So,
say in this one. Maybe you can explain this one a little better than I can.
So what I really mean by this is like the basics of when you're asking someone a question. You don't want to ask someone a yes or no question. So if I'm asking someone that I know is attending this Gen Z event, I don't want to say, my question shouldn't be, are you looking forward to the Gen Z event?
I
Because
see what you're
that
saying.
leads to a potential, doesn't mean they will, but it leads to a potential, yes, I'm looking forward to it. No, I'm not looking forward to it, which I know would
Yeah.
not be the
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
So a better question would be, what are you looking forward to most about the Gen Z event? What are you hoping to take away from this event? Then it leads it more up in the air, more subjective to the individual. So someone could say, well, I'm looking forward to Shelton's Instagram workshop earlier today, or I would love to take away some TikTok tips from Mackenzie and Reeve Harrison.
Mhm.
Can't predict what they're going to say. That's what leads to a good interview. That's what leads to a unique interview. So it makes it more personable too. And the hows, what, why, that's are your basics of asking an open-ended question. So that's what I mean
Mhm.
by that.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. You could take the next one too. I'll do the last one.
Sure. And I don't know if we can take questions. We'll probably save us time at the
We'll
end
do
for
it at the
questions if
end. We'll
anyone
do it at
has
the end.
any. Uh,
Yeah.
I know Connor, you probably can handle that with the
Yeah. We'll do it
technology
right at
side.
the end.
Cool. Yeah, at the end. All right. So have a goal. So you want to go into an interview, whether you know who the guest is or not. And we'll talk about, because you brought up a good point earlier this week to me, Connor, about situations
Mhm.
where you don't know who the guest is going to be. But have a
Mm.
goal of what topics you would like covered. What would you like answered? And this is where you have to kind of be curious yourself. What would you be interested in knowing about the guest, the celebrity, and also think about your audience. If you were a fan of that person or an audience member, what do you think they would like to know from that guest? So there's always, you want to kind of narrow it down a little bit, just having a game plan going in of what you want to ask them. So that's what I kind of mean by that. And asking open ended questions will help
Mhm.
you get those topics and questions answered.
Okay. So now doing your research. This is kind of like, I know. Again, this was another thing we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
You cannot always predict an outcome of what someone's going to say, and you cannot always predict who's going to be at an event. So, for example, um, if you go here's an example for the Hollywood Walk of Fame star unveiling. All right, there's a lot of celebrities who go to that because friends of whoever. You can't really predict who's going because there's no real set list. You only know a few of the people. So come prepared with questions pertaining to the event, um, that can really be versatile to really anyone. But when you do have those events where you know who's going, make sure to do your research. It helps. I know you just did one with Lil Huddy. You had
Oh,
a
yeah.
interview with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just did an interview. I know you did research because I saw the script, you know.
You know what's funny? For the Lil Huddy one, I didn't actually have any questions prepared for that one. I kind of
Oh, but
just
I saw you reading off stuff. I thought
none
you had.
on some other ones I had prepared, and we filmed it some of them in the same spot. The Lil Huddy one, actually, I didn't have anything prepared because I didn't know if I would be able to speak with him or not. Um,
Yeah, but anyways,
but like,
same thing. James.
let me ask you, because you just did an event with Danny Cohen recently where you didn't know who necessarily was going to be at that party. So what was your approach for heading into that situation?
Hmm. So Laura's gonna be pissed at me for saying this. She's gonna get really mad. But there's a big controversial of what age Danny Cohen is. And before Laura cuts me off here, I was interviewing her, and I'll get to your question in a minute. And I didn't. I mean, obviously, I knew she was going to be there. It was a last minute thing for me. She just texted me. She's mad. But there's some questions that you need to get to the bottom of, and that was one of the questions. But for her,
How about more for the guests that you didn't know? You knew Danny was
hmm,
obviously going to be there, but as far
yeah,
as
yeah. So for the guests, it was surprising to me. Marcus Olson and BC there, they have the green hair. Big on TikTok. I didn't know they were going to be there, so I got out my phone and looked them up. I didn't even know who they were, so I looked them up really quickly and kind of like got some insight on them. That's something you can do, but it's not always going to work. Um, I just kind of asked them questions. Well, I wasn't the one asking them questions; someone else was. But the questions that I told the reporter to ask were pertaining to the event. So, what's your birthday wish for Daniel Cohn? You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that's something that pertains to. The event where it could be kind of asked to anyone. It's not a hard question. It's not a it's a pretty easy question. So it's um, anyone can answer it.
exactly. And I think that's the same approach I'd take too. If I'm in a event and I don't know who's going to be there, you can have those still set questions that pertain to the event. Kind of like the example I just gave you guys. What do you hope to take away from this Gen Z meetup? I could ask everyone in this, participating in this talk that question because I don't know who's in this talk to be honest.
Yeah,
And you guys would give me a different answer, and it would still work that question. So it's not like necessarily a super hard question to answer, but it's a good question. It's open ended and it leads
for
to
sure,
good results. So
sure.
cool.
All right, I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay, I think you have good insight on this one. Be a performer as well.
Yeah, so I think like so far the slides before those are really talking about like the basic like journalism, like technical, how to ask the good questions. But it's different when you're conducting an interview on camera. So like you guys that are into acting, you guys know, once the cameras are on, the red light goes, you're performing. You are in a certain mindset, certain mood. Same thing if, social media, you turn on your camera for your YouTube video or TikTok. You are performing. When you're conducting interview with the guest, you are a performer as well. So you need to have a lot of confidence, show personality, have energy, and show chemistry with your guests if possible. What the second bullet points, one I really think is a good one. If you take away like nothing from this talk, like try to remember this one line: the best interviews are both informative and entertaining. So if you can accomplish both those things, I think that makes a really interesting interview because interviews are still entertainment at the end of the day. People sometimes go to interviews for like escape, like they watch their favorite show, they want to be entertained with what their favorite actor has to say. So if you can still entertain them, but also feel like, man, I learned something new from the guests as well, I think that's a good accomplishment. Like the show Hot Ones with Sean Evans, if you guys know
Yes,
that
yes.
show,
And
that
he got a TV show, didn't he?
yeah, he
It
does have a
started out
TV
as
show.
he does, right?
Yeah, he does have a TV
Yeah.
show now.
Yeah, and it started out as a YouTube channel.
Yeah, and he still got the YouTube show going. And that show, if you guys have seen it, that show accomplishes both. You know, you learn something new about the celebrity, but it's really entertaining with the way they do it, with having the guests eat like scorching hot chicken wings. Kind of lets the guests guard down, and they get better answers, and it's just really fun. That's like honestly my like dream goal is to do something like that one day. So I think that's like really important to always keep in mind when you are doing an interview on camera. You have to
Hmm.
perform as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely agree. Um, be a curious listener. All right, this is a one I used to be horrible at. I would kind of fade out of the interviews if someone like was really boring, and I know you've done this before. You know what I'm talking about. Like if someone's really boring, you just kind of fade away,
Yeah.
and then you ask them the same question or something really similar to the question. I don't know if I'm pretty sure everyone's done this that's been in this industry. Um, but yeah, like you said, being flexible and versatile with asking your questions. You know, showing that you genuinely care about the interview and the guest is definitely a good thing. It's not only good for your on camera, obviously, it's your job, but it's also good to build a relationship with whatever the guest is if you want to work with them in the future.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think. Yeah, go ahead if you don't want to finish your
yeah, I'll,
thought.
I'll let you add on to that.
Yeah, because like you a lot. That's like one of the common mistakes I see people, and it's like a really tough skill to learn. Like it's a very advanced skill. Like being a curious listener, it's kind of sounds obvious, but it is a tough skill to do because, like you said, maybe there's situations where it's maybe the guest is kind of dragging on with what they're saying, or just whatever the situation. So being flexible in terms of your questioning is important because you're trying to continue the story. You're trying to serve your audience as well. So, if they say something really interesting in the interview, but you already have, this question prepared for question number 6, you're not serving your audience if you skip over the interesting tidbit that they just mentioned. So you want to continue the story, move it forward, and by showing your interview guests you're curious, sometimes when you get those chances to interview the celebrity, you don't always have much time with them even beforehand. So really, sometimes it's your first time meeting them, and like instantly you're into an interview. So showing them you're curious will make them want to open up to you a little more, especially if they just met you. And that's like one of the biggest things because celebrities have been interviewed so many times, and they're kind of media trained to like answer a certain way sometimes, or kind of keep their guard up. So
I'm going to kind of add on to this one. I know I kind of briefly mentioned this to you. So I'm doing a story. It's not broadcast journalism. It's a just regular journalism feature article. And I'm working with a police impersonator, or a accused police impersonator. And at first he was so sketchy, he wouldn't give me any details, but you had to kind of build that bond. And when he realized that I was listening with him and actually cared about the case and wasn't one of the people who tried to like bash him, he kind of opened up and I got more details, which was better for my story.
Totally. That's how you do it. Like, just showing that you care will make people be like, oh, he actually is interested in what I'm saying. And definitely by asking a follow-up question that makes sense with what they just talked about, that really shows you're listening and curious. And yeah, it'll just be a lot better interview, a lot more natural. So
we actually have 5 more minutes. I thought we had more
5 minutes.
But
okay.
Yeah, but I know we don't show the video because I don't have it on here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's skip the video. I think there's only like then one more main slide. I'll just run through it. You can skip. Do the common mistakes one. I'll just go through the mistakes real quick and then go to the activity. Or not the activity, the questions. Common mistakes real quick, just because I think it's good. We talked about like all the good things you're supposed to do. Here's some bad things people do. Closed questions, like I said, leads to yes or no. Double barreling, that is when you ask 2 questions at once, and the interviewee will either answer your last question or the easiest of the 2 questions. So try not to ask 2 questions at once. Statements, I really don't like this when people do this. They just say something to the interviewee, but they don't actually ask a question. If you're in a podcast setting, it's a little different because those are just long form conversations. But as far as like more formal situations, please don't ask like statements, or just say statements with non-questions, and be married to the script. We talked about that.
Okay.
So let's see if we can do any questions real quick before we gotta go.
Yeah, no, let's get questions. If anyone has any questions about either what you do or what I do or what we've done in the past. There's a Q&A. I can't access it because I am actually on the thing, but there's a Q&A. Do you see that?
If they just, I don't, oh yeah, I do see it. I mean, if they just want to type their question too, we can do whatever.
Yeah, if the interviewing gets awkward, how do you quickly recover? That's probably more, how do you recover? I would, a lot of the things I like to do is like, I've seen when they ask me a question, and this was back a while ago when it got really awkward to someone, like they kind of turn the script. You know what I mean? I don't know if you've ever had that. But that's something you can't control. So if you're being interviewed and you think it's awkward, kind of turn the script on them.
So what I would say, 2 different things. Like if you ask them a question that you can kind of tell they're a little bit uncomfortable, change the topic for sure. But I also think having the energy like beforehand and like showing you're smiling, like that like already like sets the mood beforehand, like to make the guest more comfortable. If you don't look excited to even be in the interview, you can already, the mood before the interview even starts is kind of awkward. So just having that like good energy and personality, that will first set the mood, and then what I said earlier. We got a lot of questions now. I'll try to get through it as quick.
We get Oscars right here. how do you approach a positive? Sorry,
Oh, oh, I know.
how do you approach a question that's a sensitive topic with a positive vibe?
I think,
Um,
yeah, go ahead. You can start. I got it.
yeah, I'm only
Answer.
gonna answer this one because again, the same thing I'm working with now, it pertains like really closely to that. You gotta make sure that they see that you're not out to get them. You know, I know a lot of people, like I've dealt with some really sensitive journalism cases, and you gotta have, you know, you gotta let them trust you. You know, you gotta show them that you're not out to get them, and you're not trying to ruin their career. Like it would be something like, um, if you, it's like if you went to Little Huddy and said, you know, something about Charlie DeMille and him breaking up, but it was negative affecting him. You know, that's not what you want to do. I mean, unless that is what you want to do, but I don't think any of us are really out to do that. But you can approach that too.
To me, is really just your tone on how you ask the question and the way you word the question. Being sensitive and honestly, I don't know the right word right now, but just like kind of understanding from their perspective. Um, but just really being like, yeah, having the right tone when you ask the question, when you have to ask like a more serious or sensitive topic. That's what I would say.
Yeah. How did you get started interviewing? How do you
How
get
do you get
started
started?
interviewing?
Like
Um,
I was saying, it's super easy now. You could just DM people, message them easily, and post it on a YouTube channel, post it on a podcast or IGTV. It's super easy now to do an interview. So literally just
yeah,
message people on
we
social
have
media.
this good law. It's called freedom of press, or what is it called? It's freedom of press, right? So anyone could do basically what, you know, they want to do. They don't have to be part of a news group.
Yeah, you don't need to be part of an outlet to do this. Like I said, like my YouTube channel is not necessarily like a big outlet yet. I've been able to do this stuff for a while, and now I just signed with that TV network. So like, you can just start now. Like really, that's
Yeah.
why we
Is there
want to do
any?
this workshop today to let you guys know that you can all
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
journalists.
It doesn't take any, you know, it doesn't take a specific set of skills. You know, it's pretty easy. Like you said, you could do it with your phone, basically, your phone and a little tripod that you could hold your phone on or something.
Yeah.
Um, you know, what I would recommend for someone who wanted to get into it, use your camera on your phone, get a lav mic, you know, like those wired lav
Mm-hmm.
mics that you clip to your shirt, and a small tripod to hold your phone. And that's honestly it. Um, there's another one I actually have used before. You see, like on the back of my phone, you have these things where you could prop up your phone. Or I know
Yeah.
they have ones that stick to the wall.
Yeah.
So if you stick it to something, that's good too. But you could
Yeah.
do it by yourself in theory.
Yeah, seriously, like even forget about gear for a second because I know gear can be expensive. Literally, I'm sure everyone has an iPhone or some sort of smartphone. You can just film something with your iPhone. You know, it's so easy these days to execute. Um, so that's how the way it gets started. Like honestly, I started with an iPad for like several years. I didn't even know how to edit for the longest time and all that. Um, so I didn't have any mics either. So I just used an iPad. So that's how I started. And now it's a little different, but
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah. Well, if anyone else has any questions, I think we have time for like one more if anyone has a question, and then we're gonna
yeah.
have to go.
If not, you guys can always message us on like Instagram or Twitter or something.
Yeah.
My
I'll
handle's
drop
at
your
Tyler Boronski. You
yeah.
could say yours.
Did an outstanding job on how
Thank
getting
you.
started an interview. I appreciate it. I'll drop our socials right here.
Yeah,
Yours
and
is Tyler Bronsky, right?
yeah, just exactly how my name's spelled. And yeah, we can answer any questions there if you guys want to talk, you know, 101. I'll make sure to
Yeah, I'm
check my
sure both
DMs.
of us would be happy to do it. Yeah.
Totally.
And that
Yeah.
is, I'm just gonna
What's the
type it out
next
right.
panel?
The next panel is, I gotta look on my phone. I don't actually know. It is following your passion and what you love. So stay tuned
Okay,
for
yes.
that. And
Stay for that one,
we'll see
guys.
you. Thanks,
Love it.
Tyler. I'll talk to you later.
Cool. Thank
I
you guys.
appreciate it.
Later.
Bye.